just to make sure, okay. The slide should be the objective. Cool, thank you. Well, welcome everyone. It's good to have you here. Today we're talking about resources for success. And the main objective for today's session is to familiarize new students with the resources created to support their success. There's a couple of slides that I didn't get to at our presentation last week. So there's a couple of just housekeeping things that I want to go over quickly with you. 2 slides. One is that we're now kind of at the point in the summer where we're transitioning away from your personal email and just using your university email. So at this point going forward, you should be looking to your official U of A email for correspondences from the college. It's about, you probably know this already, but it's about your own privacy. We need to have some sort of assurance that it's actually you that we're communicating with, especially when we're sharing information that could be, that you may not want other people to have access to. So from this point forward, please start using your U of A email when you reach out to me. Also, I just wanted to quickly go over the differences between handbooks versus curriculum guides. Now, there's an exercise and I think there's a question in the D2L quiz about the differences between handbooks and curriculum guides. Does anyone want to take a shot at this who maybe got to that part of what the difference is between a handbook and a curriculum guide? And you just unmute yourself if you are up for taking.
Sure, yeah. So my understanding is the curriculum guides just lists all the courses they need to take, while the handbook has a lot of other important information.
Perfect. Yes, curriculum guide is about, the course requirements, and handbooks have a lot of information in them. A lot of them are about policies and procedures. Now, the thing about handbooks is that they change every year. And we ask you to follow the most recent handbook because handbooks, have the most recent policies and processes and things that do change over time. Whereas the curriculum guide is kind of your agreement when you come in as to what you're going to complete to, at least course-wise, to complete your requirements for your degree. So we wouldn't change that on you. Yeah, sometimes things do happen, but generally, if you want, generally that's what you're going to follow. You can always come into a more recent curriculum guide if it works better for you, but then there's paperwork to do. Okay, so thank you. So to kind of jump a little bit more into today's presentation, resources for success. Again, the objective that we set for this is to provide information and insights for the best possible start into your program. What we heard from you all when we asked, what did you want to get out of orientation? Some of the things that are relevant to this presentation that you said and helped to shape how I'm going to talk about things today are what is the best thing that could happen in the coming year? One of you said, get an assistantship in the spring. How do you hope your experience earning your next degree will be different from the last? I hope the resources can be readily available to make this experience better than the last one. I do too. And we're going to go over a lot of different resources today. What would you like to know about your program, faculty, and or fellow students? I would like to know how students perform well as full-time students, the type of scholarships, awards, assistantships students get. So yes, funding is always an important component of your education. You don't want to get to the end with a whole bunch of debt if you don't have to. And it's a very legitimate concern. It has certainly a large connection to our own well-being, in fact. So this is something that I've added this year that I don't usually do, but because the topic is coming up so much, I wanted to give you some of my top tips for getting an assistantship. So I think one of the best things you can do is to talk to your faculty mentors. And so when I say faculty mentors, I don't mean just your faculty advisor. I mean anyone that you establish a rapport with, who you're comfortable going to and talking about opportunities with, and you can talk to them about more than just assistantships. It could be a much broader discussion about, just general opportunities. But you'll be meeting a lot of the faculty on the 19th, and that's one place to establish rapport or continue to build rapport with them. And I want to highly encourage that. As I get stuff, as stuff comes to me, announcements about assistantships and stuff, I put them in my Friday Digest email, which I try to get to every Friday. That whole purpose of that is to streamline communication for you. It's like I have an inbox that gets filled with a bunch of clutter and a bunch of things that I wish was not there. And I'm sure it's the same for you. Something I try really hard to do is to not overwhelm you all with communications. That from me, because for a selfish reason, it's like when I email you about something, I want you to know that is something important. And I don't want it to be ignored. So I try really hard to not be, one of those email inbox filler uppers. And I know you've got a lot of announcements coming through, so I do this as a courtesy to you all, and I try very hard to find the time to put together everything that I saw come through in my email that I think might be relevant and of interest to you. And I put that into a digest every Friday. I've started sending that to you all, I don't know, I think last month. So there's often assistantship opportunities in there. So do look at that. U of A Handshake, though, that is the place to go for a lot of opportunities outside of the college. So that's part of the HR website. You can just go to arizona.edu, our main webpage, and put in Handshake into the search engine. And it's kind of our career page where you can go in and do a search for different kinds of postings for jobs and for assistantships. So do look there as well. You can just pick up the phone, especially if you have a science background already. And I say that because a lot of the microbiology labs, the chemistry labs need lab assistants, and they're often research assistantships and teaching assistantships in those departments. They don't have necessarily enough graduate students in their own programs to fill those. So whatever your undergrad or your master's degree is in already, if it's something other than public health, you can reach out, and there's nothing wrong with sending an email. I think phone calls you're probably gonna get a better response from, and maybe you have to make a few to get to the right person. But you can call, the psychology department or whatever your background is, and just ask and do some proactive searching for those kind of things. The Graduate Center Funding Newsletter. This was recommended to me by one of our continuing students. Actually, she's graduated now. And she was right. I got onto the listserv for the Graduate Center's funding newsletter, and there is a wealth of information about funding of all sorts, not only assistantships, but funding for your research and just all kinds of things. So I really recommend that. This is how you do that. You send an email to list@arizona.edu with subscribe grad funding with your first name, last name in the subject line. And that's it. You leave the body empty. You send that to them, and that will automatically get you into the newsletter listserv. Another way to go is to get onto the Graduate and Professional Student Council newsletter. GPSC is your professional council here at the university, and it's your voice at the university level in decision making. And they do an incredible amount of just all kinds of great stuff, professional development and different things. And we're going to look at their website in a little bit. But that's their website. You can get on there and get into their newsletter. Lastly, this is off topic because it's not an assistantship, but you can apply for, and many of our students do apply for, staff positions. If you have a half-time staff position that is benefits eligible, we've got what's often referred to as qualified tuition reduction, which is a terrific benefit that covers a good amount of the cost of your tuition and fees. Now, it does become taxable income. I think after $5,500 worth of benefits have been covered for you. Anything beyond that becomes part of your taxable income. But it's also a really great way to pay for a degree. It's how I paid for my master's degree in education. And I know a lot of my colleagues in my office who are currently in programs are using that benefit. So it's a really great benefit. Any questions about any of that stuff before I keep going? So do feel free to put things in the chat or even just unmute and interrupt me if you do have questions. Okay, so what I'd like to do for the rest of the presentation today is to go through a variety of resources that you all have to help support your success here. There really are four main places that we're going to look. And some of it has some redundant information, but it's all these things can be found in the hub. So the hub is the first place we're going to look. And we're also going to look at the Graduate Center, the GPSC website, the Graduate Professional Student Council website, and then our MESCOF Diversity and Inclusion webpage. You've been into some of these already if you've gotten to that portion of the D2L exercise. But again, I just want to take a deeper dive into this because those are four really great places to start looking for resources when you're looking for funding, professional development, all kinds of different things. So with that, I'm going to share, we're just going to go to the website next. Okay, so here we are on the public health website. And if you come over here to this link, it's the hub. This is your portal into our intranet. And you'll automatically be on this page. But I need to do an extra step and click on graduate students. So this is what the homepage of the hub looks like for you all when you come in here. And there are many, many different links to a lot of different information. Some of it's very specific to MPH. There are some things very specific to you all, and some things specific to just graduate students in general. We're going to kind of go through these three links primarily here, and then also this one under MS and doctoral students, the resources and links there. So just kind of a quick look at the registration forms. The forms, so they're broken down in registration forms, academic forms, and other forms. The ones that are kind of pertinent to you right now are potentially independent study registration form. If any of you are doing independent study this coming semester, this would be the form you would go to fill out, work with a faculty advisor to document what the scope of that independent study is going to be, get it signed off, send it to me, I register you. Other ones, this course substitution form is one that I sent out to you in an email formally, but this is also another place you can come and get this if you are substituting coursework that you took in another institution or in another program for one of your program requirements here. Eventually, you'll need this declaration of doctoral minor paperwork. If you do a minor within the college, if you do a minor outside the college, you'll do the paperwork from that college. And then there's also the declaration of committee membership form. MS students, you're going to need a thesis committee. This is the form you'll use to declare that internally. And doctoral students, you're going to need to have two committees. You'll have one for your comprehensive exam, which may or may not be the same as the one that you have for your dissertation. And again, this is the form to use for our internal communication within the college. those grad path forms that we looked at last time are how we communicate with the university and the grad college. These are the forms we use for internal communication. Okay. So handbooks and curriculum guides, we already talked about that a little bit. Here are the handbooks. They are from 21-22. We are putting the final touches on 22-23. I fully believe, I 90% believe that they will be all up and in place by the start of school. That is the goal. And then curriculum guides. So just a quick question. Why do you think we have only the current handbooks, but we have several years worth of curriculum guides listed? Okay, I'll tell you, since nobody's jumping at it. For just what we talked about earlier, it's because we always want you to look at the most current handbook, because those policies and processes, again, change frequently. And we want you to be referring to the most current processes and policies. But curriculum guides stick with you. So you, here's your 22-23 curriculum guide. That's the one that you'll be in, unless you make the choice to move to a later curriculum guide. Okay, faculty roles. This is, I wish more people knew about this, and that they don't is probably on me. But this is an incredible resource when you are trying to put committees together and trying to find out who is available to be on your committee. So let's say you're in epidemiology, you can come in here and click on that link, and you get a list of all the faculty who are within epidemiology, who serve on committees, and they'll tell you in what capacity that they can serve. So can they be a doctoral advisor? Most of them can. Can they be on your graduate committee? Yes to all of them. But this is a way to find out who is part of your program, who actually serves and works with doctoral students. If you go to our just general website, you're going to find a much bigger list of epi faculty there, but not all of them necessarily work with doctoral students or can serve on committees. Okay, any questions about that before I keep going? Okay, so next on our list of things to kind of talk about on here are the resources, the Emerson Doctoral Resources. This is your page. This is a page that was created for you all, to support you all. Things on here can, a lot of these things came from suggestions from students, things that they asked for to help them manage their processes and milestones towards their degrees. So if you want something, if you're thinking about something, you see something that's not here, reach out to me, let me know. You know, we'll work together, or I'll work, you know, depending on what it is, you know, we can make it happen and we can add it here. If you also see something on here that's outdated, let me know that too. I try to stay on top of that, but there's always things that get missed. So here is just a bunch of different things that are here to support you. And then here are those 3 other websites that I've already mentioned that we're going to take a look at. So you just kind of want to put it in your brain that there's, you know, I'm recommending 4 different places to look for resources when you're in the need for resources. 1 is the Hub, 2 is the Graduate Center Academic Resources page, the Graduate and Professional Student Council webpage, and our college's Diversity and Inclusion webpage. So these resources here, we've broken into 2 different categories. There's resources to help you navigate your academic progress, and there's resources to help support your success. Okay, so navigating through your degree. Declaring your PhD minor. There is a wealth of information, if I do say so myself, in this document. It goes through some advice, some directions for how to look for a minor, what your options are. Basically, there's 3 different scenarios that this covers. One being a minor within our college, a minor outside of our college, and doing a multidisciplinary minor. Did you know that a multidisciplinary minor is a possibility? It goes through each scenario and steps for that scenario. 1, 2, 3, and then there is a flow chart, which was intended to be a little bit more visual in explaining the same information up above. Is anyone giving thought to a doctoral minor already, or have questions about doctoral minors? You have time. You have time, unless you are one of the lucky people who are transferring in a ton of units. You probably don't need to think about this too soon. Okay, all right, we'll keep going. There is the doctoral guide to MESCOF and U of A forms. You know, this is kind of overwhelming. Just what forms do I need to be worrying about and thinking about? If you are looking for a template to start your unofficial plan of study, there are templates here that are just a suggestion. You know, you can use them or not, but there is one here for doctoral students, and there's another one here for MS students. Oh yeah, MS students. So, you know, as we talked previously, we want you to start thinking about your plan of study, start scoping out your coursework, working with your faculty advisors to figure out a path forward. Here's the counterpart to the doctoral guide to U of A forms and the transfer work flow chart. If you're transferring in work, previous coursework, and want to apply that to your degree, take a look at this chart. This is the same chart that I emailed out though previously. Okay, resources to help support your success. Development of a public health abstract for scientific conferences. That one in this video that Dr. Joe Jarrell did for us on creating abstracts are both really great resources. And Dr. Jarrell does a really great step-by-step presentation about just that. Funding resources for research and doctoral students. Honestly, I pulled a lot of this information off of both of these websites, honestly, but it's meant to be a concise document of those things. There's a message from our librarian. If you need to order business cards, here's how to do that. Steps to take when you plan to travel, including where to look for funding, is here. And then dissertation writing support groups. It's a long way off for you doctoral students. Don't want to stress you out too much about thinking about your whole time with us, but do know that dissertation writing support groups and just writing support groups and study groups in general are a great tool for your success. And there's some links to some articles about dissertation writing groups in here and some directions for how to get one going. Okay, any questions about the hub before we head over to the Graduate Center academic resources? I'm glad to see a couple more people have joined. Feel free to use your chat function if you do have questions, or just unmute yourself and ask them. Okay, so here we are in the Graduate Center. Graduate Center is part of the Graduate College. They have been doing, I've been really pleased. When I started here 8 years ago, the Graduate College has always been very supportive of graduate students, and they've been there to support your success. I don't think they always had the resources that they have today to do as much as they are doing. In the last, I'd say 2 or 3 years, they've really upped the game on the number of resources that they have been offering graduate students, and that's been really great to see. Doing a lot of professional development presentations, a lot of career development kind of things. You're going to see a lot of this information in my digest email that I sent out on Fridays. Resource under resources, I think it's success resources, I think is what it's titled in that email. But they're doing a lot of really incredible stuff. This is a very rich website with a ton of great information that I really want to encourage you to visit. It's not so important to me that you know every little thing that's on here, but that this exists, and I want you to also have an appreciation for how much good stuff is really on here. So it's broken into just some general different categories. So Pedro asked a question about minors, and since we've kind of covered that already, I'll stop right now to address that. That's a great question. Can courses from a master's degree unrelated to public health be transferred and be applied to a minor? Potentially. It depends on what your minor is. You want a minor that's going to help. I mean, it's my suggestion to choose a minor that's going to help you with your dissertation work and further you in your research and or your future career. So I suggest being purposeful and strategic in the minor that you choose. Now, public health pairs with lots of different other kinds of disciplines. So you can certainly do a variety of minors. It depends on the minor. You'll need to work with your minor advisor to get their approval and consent for that, and go through whatever processes that program has for such things. So if you were to choose a minor from within the College of Public Health, probably not, because it's not related to public health. But if you decide it's a biology course and you decide to do a biology minor, then that's a discussion you need to have with them, because they will have control over what can and cannot be applied to your minor. Thanks, Pedro. Did that answer it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, cool. Okay, general resources. There's some things here for international students. Honestly, I'd like to see it'll be a little bit more robust. I think we could be doing more for our international students. But international students know that there's a page here. It covers a lot of stuff about assistantships and that sort of thing here. Graduate Professional Student Council resources. We're going to go visit that in a little bit. Life Work Connection. Here under professional development, know that there is a whole bunch of different cultural resource centers that are available to support you in your time here. If any of those are applicable to you, we'll also see these on the Diversity and Inclusion webpage for our college that we're also going to visit. Job search and preparation. There's some really great stuff here as well. Here's the U of A Handshake, which is what I mentioned earlier for looking for assistantships. It's a great place to begin your search. The career fairs and other events that the college or that the university puts on, and the grad college puts on, you'll find here tons of things happening with career coaching. I was really glad to see, like, one of the things that the graduate college has been doing more of through the Graduate Center are presentations for doctoral students in particular who don't necessarily want to go into academia, who want to go out into industry or nonprofits or that sort of thing. It's really good, to have those choices and those options and have that kind of mentoring for making those kind of transitions. So they're doing some really great stuff, specifically for graduate students that a few years ago they didn't have as many opportunities for you all. So that's really cool to see. Okay, writing is always kind of a big thing. I get questions from faculty all the time about, what kind of resources can I give to students who are struggling with writing. here I would say the two that I've heard the best things about are the Writing Skills Improvement Program. This one is particularly focused on graduate students. There is free tutoring. It's not free endless tutoring, but they do offer some free sessions that are every, it's limited to length of time and how frequent they are, at least the free ones are. But this has been a great resource to a lot of our students. And then the Think Tank Writing Center, this is for both graduate and undergraduate students. Also very useful and helpful. They'll do like kind of group tutoring sessions for particular topics, but that ends up being more applicable to the undergrads because as grad students, your classes are a lot smaller, and so it's a lot harder to find, a group of students at the graduate level who need tutoring in a particular class or a particular topic. But they also do some really good stuff. Okay, research resources. I don't know everything that's in here, and I honestly haven't looked that deeply into this section, but just look at how many different things there are here. So if you are looking for any kind of help with resources for doing research, for finding research opportunities, for finding funding to support your research, this is a great place to go. Okay, so that's kind of the basics of the Graduate Center website. The highlights as I see them. Obviously, there's a ton more stuff in there that we didn't talk about. Do take a look at this when you have an opportunity. Okay, coming back here to the hub again, here's kind of the place we want you to always kind of go. We're kind of trying to make this the launch pad to everything that we think that we know of that is useful to you. We've looked at the Graduate Center Academic Resources. Let's look at the Graduate and Professional Student Council webpage next. So again, as I mentioned earlier, this is the organization on campus that is made up of graduate and professional students and represents your voice at the university level when it comes to decision making. So they have seats on the Grad Council, which is led by our Dean of the Graduate College. And they often do presentations and have a vote. I think they have a few votes actually on decision making, but that surrounds graduate education. They've done a lot to move forward benefits for teaching assistants and research assistants. They have been a big part of the recent raise in the benefits for assistantships. You're getting, if you've got an assistantship this year, you're getting paid for that work more than last year, more than the assistantships from last year, partly because of the advocacy of this group. They also look at the health benefits that are associated with them. So we do have a member here in the college who represents us as part of this group, but they do a ton of stuff as far as professional development, and they also have some funding available. So I'm just going to click on funding. The things that I have some knowledge of are the travel grants. I know that definitely there's there's different ways to apply, different avenues to apply for travel grants. Here is one of them. You want to go to a conference and you need your plane ticket covered and your hotel, and you need to get a poster printed because you're going to be presenting a poster there. All those expenses, you may not get it all from this website and from this one link, but you might get a pocket of it from them. And then you go to our college's dean's fund, and you apply there, you get another little bit of money. And then you go to the faculty that you're working with on research, and they've got a little bit of money to give you. Point is if you're willing to put the time in, there are often ways to get those kinds of expenses covered. Travel grants here, professional development opportunities. This is something that every year, the students that I work with on the poster forum. So we do a poster forum every spring where we invite people who are doing, both research and community engagement within the realm of public health to come and present. And we have a keynote speaker, and there's usually a reception afterwards. It's a really nice event. It's totally student-led, and we get a lot of the funding for that, at least a significant portion of the funding for that, through GPSC very often. And so any kind of professional development that you are interested in, come here. If you are applying to become a part of some professional organization and there's some dues, come here. They have funding for that kind of thing. There's all kinds of great resources here. How involved GPSC is in university life honestly changes from year to year. It depends upon the leadership and the folks who are contributing here. Some years they do incredible stuff, and there's all kinds of opportunities for like social engagement, for professional development. They do some really great career development kind of things. And it's graduate student to graduate student, which to me is like the really cool thing, it's because they're hearing what you want, what you need, but they also are experiencing that. So they really do some really terrific things some years, and I'm optimistic we're going to have another great year of that sort of thing as well. They do a graduation orientation, and a lot of it here is it's like from 2020. It's not a great sign, but here is our dean for the graduate college. This is Andrew Carney. I work, and sometimes you work more with our associate dean for the graduate college, Maggie Pitts. She tends to be the person who's doing more of the day-to-day kind of interactions, and overseeing those interactions with students as well. But let's see. So this year's orientation is August 12th. Okay, the resource fair, but August 17th is when the graduate orientation with GPSC is. I've heard good things about it. I've never gone myself. I'm always very busy, but this is an option for you as well, to go on August 17th if you're in town to Centennial Hall for the orientation there. Okay, any questions about that? Okay, well, we're kind of getting close to wrapping up. We got about another 5 minutes. This is the diversity and inclusion webpage for the College of Public Health. And it's another way that we try to get information out to you all, not only about diversity and inclusion here in the college. You can come and look at the plan that we have for inclusion and equity. We've been searching for a assistant dean for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we came close to hiring someone this summer and it did not work out. We currently have Dr. Velia Nuno-Levis, who is, I'm sorry, I think I got that backwards, Dr. Velia Levis Nuno, who is serving as our interim dean for diversity, equity, and inclusion. She's just getting started. We did a climate survey that was college-wide a couple of years ago, and we've been distilling that down into action items. That's some of what you'll see here. If you have a passion for diversity and inclusion and want to contribute to that within the college, you may want to join the Committee on Inclusion and Equity. They do incredible work. Some of what you'll find here is some of our statistics on just who we are as a graduate student, as faculty, and appointed professionals like myself. So this kind of gives you a background of kind of who we are as a college, undergrad students as well, of course. So I think that's all kind of interesting. The resources come in down here below. So there's all kinds of student resources in here as well. Some of this we've seen already on other pages. I think some of the things that we haven't seen are some of the counseling and psychological resources. Jenna Tessa, who you will meet next week. I think it's Tuesday. It's either Tuesday or Thursday next week. She's going to do, I think it's Thursday. She's going to do a presentation. She is our mental health counselor here. She does some really great work. I've had the privilege of working with her on some projects and things and presentations and stuff. Safety on campus. I think that's something that we haven't seen a resource yet for, but all kinds of different things. All of our cultural centers are listed here. Legal resources as well. Reporting discrimination and harassment, and that's important stuff. Additional information about discrimination, harassment, and effective communication. So really a lot of stuff. Okay, did somebody have a question? Okay, cool. Please let me know if you do. But again, these are, just to kind of recap, kind of the four main places that I'm recommending you look for resources when you're in need are the hub. Secondly, the Graduate Center Academic Resources page, GPSC Council webpage, and then a diversity and inclusion webpage. So there is a ton of stuff out there. It can be overwhelming. I don't expect you to know exactly where all this stuff is. If you come to me, these are the kind of places that we'll go and look to find things to help you with whatever's going on. But just know that there are a lot of people who put a lot of effort and a lot of work into providing the resources you need to be successful. It's sometimes you have to raise your hand and say that I need something. And if I can be a safe place that you come as a launch place into some of those resources, that's great. If it's somebody else in our office or a trusted faculty, cool, great, whatever works for you. But also know that you can come and look in these places as well. Okay, that wraps up the presentation for today. We're going to move into our chat, our informal chat with doctoral students. So Christy, if you would want to stop recording now, that would be great. Christy, are you there? You are welcome, Catherine. Okay, I am going to, and Christy, if you could make Michelle host so that we don't end this meeting when we exit, that would also be awesome. Okay, let me share screen a few slides so I can introduce our incredible students. Okay, yeah, so this is the portion where we're gonna, you'll have a few of our terrific continuing students to interact with, ask any kind of questions you want they'll talk from their own personal experience, which I think is a hugely valuable point of view to get. We have with us Michelle Valenti, who is working on her PhD in epidemiology. We have Maya working on her PhD in health behavioral health promotion, and Sabrina working on her DRPH in maternal and child health. The topic that we kind of collectively came to for this evening is living in Tucson. And here's a little bit of what we learned and what we heard from you about this topic, which maybe is a good launch point for some of your questions. But when we asked what is the biggest worry about the next year, coping with the weather came up, and I think that's a real legit one. And then kind of a fun question, which do you prefer, visiting the mountains or visiting the beach? MS doctoral students, you said 75% of you said that you prefer the mountains. But when we look at, oh, I messed up that slide. But when we looked at all of the graduate students, including the MPH students coming in, 57% of them said that they prefer the beach. And I reversed those numbers. But some ideas of things to talk about. But whatever it is that you'd like to discuss, you can go for it. And okay, cool. I was just checking to make sure Michelle is host. That's good. Unless there's any
Is it
last
still
minute-
recording?
No.
It
No.
looks like it is.
Oh,
I
is it?
have a recording button on the top.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm sorry.